So my name is Andrew Kirk and I work for the Digital Skills and Training team here in Information Services, and I have been managing two students who've been running Python programming courses over the last 2 years. They've been using Jupyter notebooks to run their courses and also to allow people to access the courses outside the classroom as well through Learn. So the courses that the two students run, there's an introduction to Python, that's a half-day course, and it's open to staff and students from any schools within the university. And then the other course they've been running this year is Python for Data Science, which is a one-day course and again is open to students and staff from any part of university. So the reason that we chose Jupyter and Noteable was because it helped us a lot with the training room setup. So we didn't have to worry about installing coding environments. We didn't have to worry too much about can everybody see the whiteboard when the trainer is changing code and fixing things based on suggestions, or can everybody see the slides that he's presenting. Everything could be done within the browser and the whole notebook can be seen from within the browser. So with just a couple of little slides to get people set up, then the notebook is the teaching tool from there on. And so the students really like that because they can follow everything at their own pace. There's a narrative built into the notebooks that we use. So there's an introduction to each coding block and then maybe an explanation after the coding block so that students know what's happened. If they've not managed to do it, there's an explanation of why it might not have worked and a suggestion of what they might want to try to fix the error. So we found it really easy to introduce Noteable to our training sessions. The trainers who developed the notebooks were able to create a narrative within the notebook. So introductions to coding blocks, explanations of coding blocks. If something didn't work in the coding block that the student had used, there would be an explanation came back to them. You might want to try this as an alternative, or have you forgotten about this aspect of it? And because they're online notebooks as well, it meant when the two trainers were collaborating to produce the notebooks, they didn't have to be in the same place at the same time, they didn't have to file share, they could just log on and access the same notebook to work on it. And it's also the same notebook that the students are actually looking at in the classroom, so the trainers were confident that it would work in a classroom situation when they were actually creating it, because everything was working then. So we get the students up and running in the classroom by getting them to log into their VLE, and we usually have a couple of PowerPoint slides up, and that's really all the PowerPoint that we use for the rest of the session. A couple of PowerPoint slides up just to explain. Go into the VLE, open up Noteable service from within your VLE, and then pull the files from the GitHub location that we tell them to pull them in from. And then once they've got the notebooks there, there's an explanation of obviously of how the notebooks work by the tutor. And that's really quick. That usually takes 15 or 20 minutes just to get them to understand how a notebook actually works. And then after that, the students work through the notebooks, occasionally being interrupted by the trainer to give another demonstration of a particular aspect of the course, and then back to practicing with the notebooks. The other advantage of Noteable is that once the session's finished in the classroom, they can go home and they can open exactly the same notebook at the point that they finished, back at home and work through the rest of it, any extra exercises that are in the notebook as well. So I've looked at the feedback from the Python courses that were run, and the feedback was really positive about the notebooks being used in a classroom setting where students had the freedom to take their time and work through the notebooks, but with the support of a tutor in the classroom as well. But then also that they could go away and work on them in the evening or when they weren't in the classroom themselves. The continuity was there. They didn't have to go home and then download programs and files separately. Everything was already there in the notebook. So we've had a really positive response from students in the classroom setting. They really like the setup, gives them a bit of freedom to take their own time. Because there is an explanation of things in the notebooks, they don't feel like they're being left behind in classes. So we'd be really keen to keep using Noteable. We've got more Python courses coming up this year. They're all freely available through our VLE to students and staff in the university through a self-enroll course. At the moment, we've got around 400 people signed up for the first intro course. So this is people who would have been in the classroom course, as well as people who've never seen the classroom but can follow the content because the content's in the notebooks themselves. So about 400 people for the intro course, and just under 100 people for the Python for Data Science course. So we're really keen. We think that's been successful. So when we run the courses again, we'll be reusing those Noteable notebooks and maybe expanding on them with different examples and extra exercises for the future.